Okay, welcome to the Swing Trading with Cycles channel. We're going to do an update on precious metals today. We're going to also look at Dixie since it's so correlated. So Dixie is, and this is December 15th, the market is melting down. I think the broader market is down something like 2 to 3%. And Dixie is bouncing. Dixie has been trying to make a daily cycle low for a little while now. It's debatable, was this a daily cycle low on day 30 and we're declining as part of a daily cycle low, or is this actually our daily cycle low here? So day 31, 32, 3, 34, 35, 36. So like, was this our daily cycle low here on day 36? And then it raises the question, are we also getting a weekly cycle low, which might give you a hint as to the degree of a pullback we're going to get here in the metals, right? Because is this week 27, I think? No, it's week 28. So definitely getting long in the weekly cycle, but it's also, you've had cycles that are like 30 weeks, so it's not super long. Still very bearish on the monthly chart. I've been talking about this. This is a very good candidate for the 3-year cycle top, which makes this, and this is September, which makes September a very good candidate for the gold weekly daily 8-year cycle low. So let's go to gold. Let's move on to that. Gold daily chart. We're moving into a daily cycle low as I posted on Twitter. So this is day, excuse me, I'll delete this. I believe that's actually day 28. Yeah, so that's day 28, and this is day 30. So the top was day 28, and we are now here on day 30. And so we expect this would be our first day closing below the 10-day moving average. I mean, we closed below it here slightly. And so I would expect that we're probably going to break down at least below this level, this 1766 level. And this line was drawn because that was actually the high from this day. So this is day 22, and it marked the top at one point, and we consolidated inside that range. Like, we rose inside the range for a little bit, we pulled back, and then we tried to break out, and we haven't been able to do that. So you can almost kind of think about that, right? Like, let's zoom in. We had this big bearish outside candle, and then we kind of rallied for 3 days. We had 3 higher highs and green, but then we made a lower low, and it was red, right below this low. But then we came back with force and said, no, we're going higher. But then, like, look at where the pullback happened, right? Right above that level, the sellers came in. They said, I'm getting out. Like this, again, this consolidation zone. And so now we're back inside this consolidation zone. So this tells me we're going to test the bottom of this, which is 1766. And then it's a question of, do we break down below that to here, like the 1734 kind of area? And on the weekly cycle, the implications are huge because this is potentially a weekly cycle top. And that's if you measure this as your weekly cycle low, right? Like, this is where it gets squirrely. If your weekly cycle low was in September, or excuse me, your 8-year cycle low was in September, then this is actually week 11, right? There's no way around that. We have this like cluster of like kind of a triple bottom kind of situation. So you could pick your adventure and say this is the beginning of the weekly cycle, but that would mean that this is also your 8-year cycle low, which doesn't make sense because this is like your real low in September. So that's my take on this, right? And if we look at the monthly, again, important levels, I've been posting this on Twitter, really important chart. This is our potential 8-year cycle low, this candle here in September. So as long as this low remains intact, this is our potential 8-year cycle low. The same way this low, going back to December 2015, once we got above 1,088.90, in this case, we never really looked back. We had this like 3-month consolidation period where we made this higher low at 11.99, and then we actually undercut this low. That was kind of scary, but it was still relatively early in the new 8-year cycle. And then notice that we just kind of meandered here for like many months. So it's going to be a long cycle, and all of that happened in the quote-unquote advancing phase. It wasn't really until October 2018 that we really started advancing. I mean, you can see it doesn't get vertical till here, and you have all this kind of like slosh, right? So just be aware of that. It also tells you you don't have to worry about missing the boat, that like you're going to miss the rally. Chill. It's an 8-year cycle low, right? So the rally should last for literally years, right? Right now, we want to watch, does this candle go green? That's important. This candle opened at 1767.70, so that's going to be another important level that you're going to want to watch. Let's look at silver. Let's look at GDX first, and then we'll close with silver because that's where we're going to get the rocket ship higher. And that's where you're going to want to really manage your trade to make sure you get the most out of it. Let's look at the daily chart for the miners. So we did go on and make a higher high after day 19. That turned out to be our daily cycle high. So that's 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. So daily cycle high on day 27. And now we're moving into a daily cycle low. So we probably still have a bit more downside here. In this case, we really want to hold around 27, 25. And what does that do for the weekly? Implications are huge here. We have a swing high on the weekly chart, right? So I should say we have a new low on the weekly chart. We really need to get below this low for it to be a real swing high, because this is the high. Actually, no, wait a second. Right, we made a higher high this week. Right, that's right. So we did make a slight higher high for the weekly cycle this week. Again, in principle only in some ways. 327, 30, yeah. So this is, I mean, if we close like this is essentially a swing high. Although I'll say structurally, we really need to get below these pivots to get really bearish. But at this point, we're just kind of a hop, jump, and a skip away from those. But things are still intact. And the thing about metals is they love to, like, that's part of the thing that's annoying about trading metals is they kind of suck in that way, these like really heavy retracements. Most importantly, we are red on the month, and that obviously needs to change at some point. We don't have a whole lot of month left with like the shorter month in terms of trading. And so this month opened at 29.73, so that gives you a sense of the kind of rally we need back. And finally, let's look at silver. We may be going on our parabolic run, but there will be pullbacks along the way. And so this looks to be your daily cycle high. I think that was day 41. And so we haven't even closed below the 10-day moving average yet. So like that's going to happen. I think you have to just prepare yourself, right? Like this period hasn't closed below the 10-day moving average. That's going to happen. That's important. We know that happens. That's just how things happen. Things retrace. Things don't move in a straight line. That's going to create buying opportunities. But what does that mean for our weekly chart? Similar to GDX, we're at risk of this being a weekly cycle high. This is week 15, but notice how far above the low from last week we are right here. And really we need to stay, like in the same way that we have like this cluster of lows with GDX, we have this at silver. It's not a coincidence. It's the same structure. It's different levels. For silver, it's around $20.50. So if things get really bad, really violent, that's kind of your port in the storm, right? Like you could even see a world where we get down there like that and still we're able to bounce and continue higher. Like that would be kind of your real kind of last stand Alamo sort of situation. But if we are getting our weekly cycle high here, you don't want to be the last person to be off the train, right? So you want to make sure, like, you know, we get a candle that crosses something like that, you want to get out, right? Where at least I should say you want to be prepared to take measures. But right now, we're still just consolidating at the upper end of the range. Nothing to really panic about. If anything, this is the time to prepare your dry powder so that if we do make a higher low, you're able to kind of add or get in if you haven't been in the trade at all. And for silver, we're still green on the month. That's really important. Notice GDX was red. We're still fairly green. Now, we opened at $22.16. So that would take us red for the month, and so that's important to know about. I suspect we're going to test that level on this daily cycle decline, and it's going to be a question of do we survive it. But so far, this is looking pretty bullish, and if anything, it may be setting up an opportunity to get long as part of this retracement. So that is all for the precious metals update for today. Thanks for watching.